The November rain pelted against the windows of Le Bernardin, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants. Julia pressed her palm against the cold glass of the entrance door, watching her reflection blur in the raindrops. 25 years old today, and she'd worn her best dress, the navy blue one she'd saved 3 months to buy. "There's the birthday girl," her mother's voice rang out across the private dining room as Julia entered. The warmth inside contrasted sharply with the bitter wind she'd just escaped, but something in her mother's tone made her shiver anyway. The room was already full. Her parents, Robert and Diane Chen, stood at the center like conductors of an orchestra. Her younger brother Michael lounged in his chair, scrolling through his phone. Her cousins Emma and Tyler whispered in the corner. Even her father's business partner, Mr. Davidson, had somehow made the guest list. "Sorry I'm a few minutes late," Julia said, shaking the rain from her coat. "The subway was, oh, you know how the MTA is," her mother interrupted, waving dismissively. Come, we were just about to start." Julia noticed the pile of wrapped packages on the side table. Her heart lifted slightly. Maybe this year would be different. Maybe they'd finally see her the way she'd always hoped they would. "Before we sit," her father announced, his voice carrying that boardroom authority he never quite left at the office, "we have some gifts to distribute." Julia moved toward her designated chair, marked with a small place card in elegant script. She smoothed her dress and waited. "Michael," her mother cooed, picking up a rectangular package wrapped in silver paper. "This is for getting into Columbia Law. We're so proud of you, sweetheart." Her brother barely looked up from his phone as he tore into the wrapping. A new MacBook Pro, top of the line. "Thanks," he mumbled, already powering it on. Julia's smile tightened. She'd graduated magna cum laude from NYU 2 years ago. Her parents had been in Bermuda that weekend. Chapter 2. The Unraveling Emma. "Darling," Diane continued, selecting another gift for your engagement. "We're thrilled to welcome Brad to the family." A Tiffany box revealed diamond earrings that caught the chandelier light. Emma squealed and hugged Julia's parents while Brad beamed from across the room. One by one, the gifts continued. Tyler got a watch for his promotion. Mr. Davidson received a rare bottle of scotch for being such a valuable friend to the family. Even Brad, whom Julia had met exactly twice, unwrapped a set of golf clubs. Julia's hands grew cold despite the warmth of the room. She pressed them against her thighs, feeling the fabric of her dress, the dress she'd been so proud of an hour ago. Now it felt cheap, inadequate, like everything else about her in this room. "Shall we sit?" her father suggested once the gift table was empty. Empty. The word echoed in Julia's mind as she took her seat. Around her, conversation bubbled. Michael showed off features on his laptop. Emma held her earrings up to the light. Her mother orchestrated it all with the satisfied air of a director watching her play unfold perfectly. The appetizers arrived: oysters and champagne. Julia had mentioned once, years ago, that she was allergic to shellfish. The waiter, a young man with kind eyes, noticed her untouched plate. "Would you prefer something else, miss?" he asked quietly. "No, thank you," Julia managed. "I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. She was disappearing, fading into the expensive wallpaper of this place where everyone mattered except her. Her father stood, raising his champagne flute. The room quieted. "A toast," he began, his eyes scanning the table, but somehow never quite landing on Julia. "To family, to success, to Julia," her mother interrupted with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Who has always been so self-sufficient. You've never needed what the others need, have you, dear? Always so strong, so independent." She paused, her gaze finally meeting Julia's. "You already have enough. Tonight is about unity, about celebrating each other's achievements." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the ambient jazz music seemed to pause. Julia felt every eye in the room on her, but not really seeing her. Never really seeing her. To unity. The voices chorused around her. Julia raised her glass with a hand that barely trembled. The champagne tasted like disappointment. Chapter 3. The message. The main courses arrived in a flourish of silver domes and practiced precision. Filet mignon for most, lobster thermidor for others. Julia picked at her salad, the only thing she dared order, while conversation float around her like a river around a stone. Julia's doing ... What is it again? Still at that non-profit? Her mother asked, as if she'd forgotten despite Julia telling her dozens of times. I'm the program director now, Julia said quietly. We just secured funding to expand our literacy program to 3 more schools in the Bronx. How ... Charitable, Diane murmured, already turning to ask Emma about wedding venues. That's when the waiter appeared at Julia's elbow. The same one who'd noticed her untouched oysters. He held a cream-colored envelope in his gloved hand. Excuse me, miss, he said softly. This was left for you earlier this evening. I was instructed to deliver it during the main course. Julia's forehead creased. For me. Are you sure? Quite sure. The gentleman was very specific. Julia Chen, he said. The young woman in the navy blue dress. Her hands shook slightly as she took the envelope. Her name was written across it in shaky but familiar handwriting. Her breath caught. Everything all right, Julia? Her father asked, his tone suggesting he'd prefer the answer to be yes so they could return to more important matters. Excuse me for a moment, Julia said, pushing back her chair. Really, Julia? During dinner? Her mother sighed. But Julia was already walking toward the restroom, envelope clutched in her hand. Inside the pristine marble sanctuary, she locked herself in a stall and carefully opened the letter. My dearest Julia, if you're reading this, then Harold has done his job well. I hired him 6 months ago to work at whatever restaurant your parents chose. Yes, I've been planning this that long. I won't be there for your 25th birthday, but I couldn't let it pass like all the others. Watching your light dim year after year has been the greatest pain of my final months. You were always the brightest star in our family, even if they've been too blind to see it. Remember when you were 7 and you gave your birthday cake to that homeless man outside the restaurant? Your parents were mortified, but I saw what they missed, a heart so pure it couldn't celebrate while others suffered. They've made you feel like you're too much and not enough, all at once. Too sensitive, too caring, too different, not successful enough, not conventional enough, not the daughter they envisioned. But Julia, my dear one, you are exactly who you're meant to be. I've left you something. Check your bank account tonight. It's not a fortune, but it's enough. Enough to leave, if you want, enough to start over. Enough to build a life where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Use it to find your people, Julia, the ones who will throw you a party just because it's Tuesday and you smiled. The ones who remember you're allergic to shellfish. The ones who see your light and help it shine brighter, not dimmer. Don't let them convince you that needing love makes you weak. Don't let them make you small. You were born to take up space in this world, my darling girl. All my love, Grandpa Joe. P.S. The access code. Is your favorite book the one I read to you when you were small? You'll know. Julia pressed the letter to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Grandpa Joe, the only one who ever really saw her. Gone 3 months now, but still protecting her, still loving her in a way the others never could. Chapter 4. The breaking point. Julia wiped her tears, carefully folded the letter, and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who'd entered this restaurant an hour ago. Something had shifted, clicked into place like the final piece of a puzzle she'd been trying to solve her entire life. She walked back to the table with a different bearing. Shoulders back, chin up, eyes clear. Are you all right? Emma asked, though her tone suggested she was asking more out of obligation than concern. Actually, Julia said, remaining standing beside her chair. I'm better than all right. Her mother's fork paused midway to her mouth. Julia, please sit. You're making a scene. No, Mom, I'm done. Julia picked up her purse, her movements calm and deliberate. I'm done pretending this is normal. Done pretending it doesn't hurt to be the only one who never receives a gift, a card, or even a happy birthday. Done being grateful for scraps of attention while watching you shower everyone else with love. Julia, her father's voice held a warning. This is neither the time nor. When is the time, Dad? Julia interrupted, her voice steady. When have you ever made time for me? My graduation. You were in Bermuda. My promotion. You forgot to call. Every birthday for the past decade. A text. If I was lucky. She looked around the table. meeting each pair of eyes. You gave Michael a laptop for getting into law school. You gave me nothing for graduating with honors. You gave Emma earrings for her engagement. You gave me nothing when I told you I was in love. You even gave Brad, who you've known for 6 months, golf clubs. But me, your daughter, I'm too strong to need anything. The silence stretched taut as piano wire. I used to think something was wrong with me, Julia continued. That if I could just be better, achieve more, need less, maybe then you'd see me. But Grandpa Joe saw me. He saw me when I was 7 and gave away my cake. He saw me when I cried in his kitchen because he forgot my 16th birthday. He saw me graduate, get promoted, fall in love, have my heart broken. He saw it all. And he made sure that even after he was gone, I'd know that I was worth seeing. She turned to the waiter Harold, apparently, who stood discreetly by the service station. Thank you, she said simply. He nodded with a small smile. He was a good man. Talked about you constantly. Julia took one last look at her family. Her mother's face had gone pale. Her father's jaw was set in that way that meant he was calculating damage control. Michael had actually put down his phone. The other shifted uncomfortably. Extras in a drama they hadn't auditioned for. I'm done, Julia repeated, this time softer, almost to herself. I'm done making myself small so you can feel big. Done being the supporting character in my own life. Tonight was supposed to be about me, and for the first time in 25 years, it finally is. She walked toward the door, her heels clicking against the marble floor with purpose. Julia, if you leave now, her mother called out. Julia paused at the threshold, rain visible through the glass doors beyond. What, Mom, you'll cut me off. Stop inviting me to family gatherings where I'm invisible. Stop giving me the nothing you've perfected giving me for years. She pulled on her coat. Fingers steady now. Grandpa Joe left me something you never could, the permission to choose myself. So that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing myself. The November rain greeted her like an old friend as she stepped outside. Cold? Yes, but clean, washing away the years of accumulated hurt like dirt from a window, leaving everything clearer. Julia pulled out her phone and opened her banking app, the access code. She smiled through her tears as she typed. The Velveteen Rabbit, the book Grandpa Joe read to her countless times, about becoming real through being loved. The screen loaded. The number that appeared made her gasp, then laugh, a sound of pure, unexpected joy. It wasn't millions, but it was more than enough. Enough for the apartment she'd been dreaming of in Brooklyn. Enough to maybe take a year and write that book. Enough to travel to the places she'd only seen in photographs. Enough to start therapy and finally heal. Enough to build a life where she was the main character. But more than the money, it was the message. You are worth investing in. You are worth celebrating. You are worth loving, just as you are. Behind her, through the restaurant windows, she could see her family still seated at the table. Her empty chair looked like a question mark, a space that had always been there but never truly filled. A taxi splashed to a stop beside her, and Julia climbed in, rain-soaked and mascara smeared and freer than she'd ever been. Where to? The driver asked. Julia looked at the letter one more time, then out at the city lights blurred by rain and tears and possibility. Home, she said. Then, realizing that word meant something different now, something she got to define, she smiled. Actually, you know what? Just drive. I'll know when we get there. As the taxi pulled away from Le Bernardin, Julia didn't look back. She was too busy looking forward, toward a future where birthdays meant celebration, not survival, where family meant choice, not obligation, where love wasn't something you had to earn by being less of yourself, but something you attracted by being more. The rain continued to fall over Manhattan, washing the city clean for another day. And somewhere in the back of a taxi, heading toward a new beginning, Julia Chen finally allowed herself to take up all the space she needed. She was 25 years old. She was seen. She was loved. She was enough. She always had been. The Brooklyn morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Julia's Williamsburg loft, painting golden rectangles across the hardwood floors. She sat at her desk, a vintage piece she'd found at a flea market, and restored herself, fingers dancing across her laptop keyboard. The cursor blinked at the end of a sentence. Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is the permission to give yourself everything you've been waiting for others to provide. Her book was nearly finished. The Invisible Daughter, a memoir of finding yourself when no one else is looking. Her editor at Random House had called it searingly honest and universally necessary. Julia still couldn't believe those words applied to something she'd written. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus, the photographer she'd been seeing for 3 months. Coffee and bagels from Russ and Daughters. I can swing by before your therapy appointment. She smiled, typing back, only if you remember my everything bagel with scallion cream cheese. Would I dare forget? You literally have it in your author bio. Julia Chen enjoys overpriced Brooklyn bagels and making her peace with the past. The past. It had been 6 months since that night at Le Bernardin. 6 months since she'd used Grandpa Joe's gift to transform her life from the ground up. The first month had been the hardest, grief and freedom intertwining like DNA strands, impossible to separate. She'd cried in her new apartment, surrounded by boxes and possibility. She'd second-guessed herself 100 times, but she'd never once regretted walking out of that restaurant. Her phone rang. The caller ID made her pause. Michael. She almost didn't answer. They'd spoken twice since November, stilted conversations full of careful pauses and unspoken questions. But something, maybe growth or maybe just curiosity, made her swipe to accept. Jules. His voice sounded different, smaller. Hey, it's me. Hey, Michael. She closed her laptop, giving him her full attention in a way her family never had. How are you? Can I be honest? I'm not great. A pause. I failed the bar exam. Julia's eyebrows rose. Perfect Michael, golden child Michael, had failed. I'm sorry. That must be really hard. You know what Mom and Dad said. His laugh was bitter. That maybe I wasn't cut out for law after all. That maybe I should have studied harder, partied less. The same parents who threw me a party for getting into Columbia won't even look at me now. Julia moved to her window, looking out at the Manhattan skyline across the river. I'm sorry, Michael. I really am. No, you're not. But there was no accusation in his tone, just resignation, and you shouldn't be. I watched them do it to you for years and said nothing, did nothing. I benefited from being the favorite and never once questioned why you weren't. We were kids. I'm not a kid now. And I'm calling because I finally get it, what you said that night, about being the supporting character in your own life. I've been the lead in a play I never auditioned for, reading lines I never chose. And the moment I went off script ... double quotes, he trailed off. They stopped seeing you, Julia finished softly. Yeah, another pause. I saw your book announcement on Instagram. Congratulations. Really? Thank you. Jules, do you think, would you maybe want to get lunch sometime? Just us? No parents, no family drama, just ... siblings, if that's even possible anymore. Julia thought of all the birthdays he'd ignored, all the times he'd taken their parents' affection for granted while she starved for scraps. But she also thought of Grandpa Joe's words about finding her people. Maybe family wasn't just about blood or history. Maybe it was about choosing to see each other clearly, even if that clarity came late. Text me some dates, she said finally. We'll start with coffee and see how it goes. Yeah, really. But Michael, I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for the family we had. If we're going to build something, it has to be new, and it has to be real. I get it. I want that too. His voice cracked slightly. I miss having a sister. You never had one before, Julia said gently. Not really? But maybe we can figure out how to be siblings now. After they hung up, Julia sat in the quiet of her apartment. 6 months ago, she'd thought leaving meant losing everything. But maybe it had created space for something authentic to grow. Her doorbell rang. Marcus stood there with bagels, coffee, and that crooked smile that had first caught her attention at a gallery opening in Dumbo. He'd asked her about her writing, not her family, not her connections, not what she could do for him. Just her words, her thoughts, her dreams. Everything bagel with scallion cream cheese, he announced, holding up the bag. Though I still maintain lox is the superior choice, and I still maintain you're wrong, she said, pulling him inside. They sat at her small kitchen table, another flea market find, and she told him about Michael's call. Marcus listened the way he always did, completely present, occasionally reaching over to squeeze her hand. "You know what I love about you," he said when she finished. "You could have told him to fuck off. Most people would have. But you're leaving the door open, not wide open," Julia clarified. "Just cracked. He has to do the work to push it wider. Still, that takes strength. You know what Grandpa Joe used to say. That strength isn't about not needing anyone. It's about knowing who deserves your vulnerability." Her phone buzzed again. This time, an email from her editor with the subject line, "Cover Design Concepts." Julia opened it, gasping at the proposed book cover, a woman's silhouette filled with words, gradually becoming more solid and defined from bottom to top. It was perfect. "Is that it?" Marcus leaned over to look. "Julia, that's incredible. It's really happening," she whispered. "My book, my story, on my terms. What's that dedication again?" "The one you showed me last week," Julia smiled, reciting from memory, "for Grandpa Joe, who saw me when I couldn't see myself, and for every invisible daughter who's ready to step into the light. You already have enough. You already are enough. Now go prove it to yourself." Her therapy appointment was in an hour. Dr. Martinez had helped her understand that her family's neglect wasn't about her worth, it was about their own limitations. That she could grieve the parents she needed while accepting the ones she'd had. That choosing herself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. But first, breakfast with a man who remembered her bagel order. Work on a book that would help others feel seen. A life built on her own terms, with her own chosen family. Her phone lit up with one more text, this time from a number she didn't recognize. "Julia, this is Emma. I heard about your book from Michael. I know we haven't talked, but I wanted to say I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry for all of it. If you're ever willing, I'd love to hear more about your writing. The real stuff, not the polite family dinner version." Julia stared at the message. 6 months ago, she'd left that restaurant believing she was losing her entire family. But maybe she'd actually freed them all to find each other as real people, not just roles in their parents' carefully scripted production. She typed back, "Thank you, Emma. That means something. Let me get through my book launch, and then maybe we can grab coffee. Real talk only." Jay outside her window. Brooklyn was waking up, coffee shops filling with freelancers and dreamers, artists heading to studios, writers crafting stories in tiny apartments. Her people, her world, her life. Julia Chen was 25.5 years old. She was visible to herself and to those who mattered. She was loved by people who saw her fully. She was enough, had always been enough, and this time, she knew it in her bones. The becoming wasn't over. Maybe it never would be. But as she sat in her sunlit kitchen, everything bagel in hand and her future spread before her like a map of possibilities, Julia understood what Grandpa Joe had really given her that night. Not just money, not just escape, permission to write her own story. And she was only getting started.